Good morning everybody and welcome to another video. So in this video we're going to be talking about my hopes and dreams for Monday's article on the Cities of Sigmar. So grab brew, get comfortable and let me waffle. Yes, so it's Saturday morning and I've woke up with my brew. Nothing like a good coffee in the morning. And I got to thinking. So the article is coming for the Cities of Sigmar on Monday. And it's kind of threw up a lot of sort of questions that I've got for myself in the army. Because we know that there are changes coming. Games Workshop have obviously come out and said that shooting is changing, and we have seen over the rules previews and some of the things in the battle report and things about shooting that there are definitely big changes to shooting. And regardless of how people sort of talk about the Cities of Sigmar, they are a predominantly, or at least in 3rd edition, they were a predominantly shooty army. So what has changed in shooting? Well, we know that ranges of shooting has changed. I do think we'll still see them at Fusiliers at 24 inches as well as cannons at 24 inches. But we can now know that you can now no longer shoot into combat when you're in combat, unless you have the ability shoot into combat. And we have seen that on certain war scrolls already. So like the Storm Fiends and the Rat Ogres, they have a certain one weapon on one model that allows them to shoot into combat. So how is this going to massively affect it? Well, yeah, that really does, because obviously Fusiliers are just basic humans, so we already know from the article as well that we're probably going to have a base stat line of hitting on 4s and wounding on 4s. Okay, I imagine the Cavaliers will maybe be a little bit better, hopefully stay on 3s followed by 3s, because they are more elite cavalry, but we'll talk about the cavalry in a second. So yeah, the shooting aspect of the army is an interesting one. So how is that going to change? Well, personally, I think straight away onto the Fusiliers. I don't think they're going to be as the army as a whole, I'm expecting to see the army change from a more infantry shooting based army to a more cavalry based army. From some of the stuff that we've sort of seen through the preview so far, there's a lot of anti-infantry abilities on war scrolls, and I have a feeling that the lists that people are going to be leaning into are going to be cavalry centric, so lots of cavaliers and things like that. But I think there's a lot of sort of things about the Cities of Sigmar that is kind of up in the air. Obviously, we know the Duradin, the dwarves, and the Dark Elves are definitely, the dwarves are destined to come back to the old world. So, you know, are we going to be seeing new models for the dwarfs in Age of Sigmar, for Cities of Sigmar, or are they going to be replaced with something completely new? But yeah, there's a lot of things about the army, and I'm hoping that the article really sheds a little bit of light on. So a little bit more on the shooting though. So I've got a feeling that when it comes to the Fusiliers, I'm hoping personally that we get critical damage. So we have crits for mortal damage on 6s to hit. So rather than needing a spell from a Warforger, to get that mortal wound damage, that we have that already built into our profile. So any 6s, we do that mortal wound damage. Now, there seems to be obviously a big thing of it's moving away from, or it has moved away from, mortal damage in addition to. So I would be happy with it's just mortal damage rather than it's mortal damage and it's going to be additional damage as well. Another thing that I'm fully expecting to see is the shot profile on the Fusiliers to go from 2 to 1. I always, even though I played 20 Fusiliers in my army, I always felt that pumping out 42 shots a turn is a little bit silly. And if you had a unit of 30, you were pumping out like 62 shots. You know, there's potential for counter fire, return fire, where you're going to fire in your opponent's turn and then be able to do it again for, like, you know, unleash hell, and then you were doing it again in your turn as well. So it was pretty nuts. amount of firepower that you could probably pump out in 3rd edition. And that I definitely think that's going to tone down, and I think that's going to disappear. So that like leads me nicely into another little snippet that Games Workshop have dropped regarding tokens. So at the bottom of one of the articles, they talked about tokens and said about tokens are going away, and they specifically mentioned the Lumineth Realm Lords and the Cities of Sigmar. Now, Lumineth Realm Lords, obviously, as you remember, in 3rd edition, had Aether Quartz, so you put a little token next to your model, and they had Aether Quartz. They'd use their Aether Quartz, and you had to use a token. That seems to have disappeared, or gone for 4th edition. Okay, kind of cool. But they talked about the Cities of Sigmar, and when they talk about Cities of Sigmar and tokens, they're clearly talking about the order system. Now, if you don't know about Cities of Sigmar, or you're new to the army, or you're just interested in them, what we currently have in 3rd edition is kind of a bit like a 40k Imperial Guard type system of orders, and we have a number of basic generic orders for the army, and then we have faction, racial specific orders for the humans, the dwarfs, and the elves. So this is things like you can get to do an advance order. So you get +3 to your movement for units within 3 inches of that hero, and things like Fusiliers and the Ogrin and the Cannons that are Castellan and have the fortified rule, they were able to move up to 8 inches and retain the fortified ability, meaning that they ignored all rend coming in from ranged attacks, and they still got to shoot at 24 inches with their higher profile rather than the 12-inch profile for moving. Now, obviously, it sounds like the order system is gone, which is going to be interesting. This is going to be obviously leaning into our battle traits. So what could it be replaced with? No idea. I think there'll be possibly passive abilities. So you can sort of choose a hero have like a hero can have issue orders. And then that is a passive ability, and it will be like a 3-inch combat aura around him, and you basically pick an ability, and that ability is basically, you pick an ability, and it's either going to give you the move, the sort of the counter shooting or stuff like that. I've got a feeling that it's going to be sort of similar to how it works, but you're not going to need the tokens, but you're not going to be doing it on every single hero, and it's going to be more of a passive thing rather than anything else. But either way, if we're going to go by experience and precedence, when the Leagues of Votann come out in 9th edition, they had the grudge mechanic, and it was very much token-centric, and you had lots of tokens, and it was kind of a little bit broken and nerfed and changed multiple times at the end of 9th edition. And when they got the index in 10th edition, it was completely changed. So, now that they've mentioned tokens for the Cities of Sigmar, I'm expecting the order system to completely go and have something a little bit more passive that kind of just works organically with your heroes and your units interacting with each other. And that will be definitely baked into the battle traits, and we're obviously going to see that on Monday. So how do I think some of the units like Fusiliers and the Cannons are going to change? Well, hopefully we're going to get critical wounds on them. I think the Cannons will keep their different firing modes, and I've got a feeling that they'll sort of, each mode of fire will lean into a certain type of target that they should want. So your normal shot will be like anti-infantry, so get +1 rend to him. And I've got a feeling that another one of the shots will be more monster focused to get damage against monsters or extra rend against monsters. But I do think as a whole the army is going to switch to a cavalry based army. I think your cavalry is going to be your battle line units. Or your main core of your army is going to be cavaliers. I think the mounted marshal is definitely going to be something that you're going to want to run. I think your Talia, our war master, our big character on her massive chimera, I'm really hoping they show her war scroll and she gets a significant damage output, because right now she's good. She's okay. She does quite a nice little bit of utility for your army, but she definitely needs a little bit of a spice when it comes to combat. She can hit, but not hit hard. Like for a monster, basically a monster character, she's a little bit lackluster when it comes to the damage output compared to other characters of her ilk. Now, as an example, basically a griffin, a marshal mounted on a griffin, kind of almost has the same amount of output as her, if not a little bit more, and you have the ability to stick an artifact on him to pump out a little bit more damage. So, yeah, I think she definitely needs a little bit of an increase when it comes to the damage output. So I would like to see that. Cavaliers, I definitely want to see them retain their hitting on threes, wounding on threes. I'd like to see them moved up to 3 wounds each because they are heavy cavalry, and I'd definitely like to see them retain their 3-up save. Outside of that, as moves, I can possibly see them, because right now they have a rule that if they charge, they get +1 rend, and they get +1 damage on the charge. So what I can see them having is anti-infantry rule on their weapons as standard, and having a rule that they get +1 damage on the charge, which we have seen on War Scrolls already. Those type of combinations already. That means that they're obviously going to get the +1 rend on the charge, yay, and if they're hitting infantry, they're going to get the +1. They get the +1 damage on the charge, and if they're coming up against infantry, which is what you want cavalry to do, that was what cavalry were designed to do in the battlefield in reality, is they targeted infantry to smash infantry blocks, that they're going to get the extra rend on that. That would be really nice to see, and if they retain the hitting on threes, wounding on threes, that would be amazing. I'm hoping, I think it's a slim hope. We'll probably find that that's not going to happen. But if they make them hit worse and wound worse, but we retain an extra wound and retain our 3-up save, and we get a couple of fancy, nice rules on those weapons, that would be a nice sort of change. As for the rest of the army, I'm expecting to see when we finally get a release. I'm not really wanting to talk about potential things that are going to come out with the Battle Tome because that's a long way off. But I would like to see a little bit more focus on magic, because we don't really have really good magic users. One of the things that I kind of I'm a little bit worried about is certain parts of the old world model range. So right now in Age of Sigmar, for the new models, we only really have one caster, and that is the War Forger. Now, I think that model is going to change dramatically, because it kind of has in 3rd edition quite a lot. So I'd be really interested to see what changes he gets. But outside of that, we really don't have any real other casters that are part of the new model range. We have the Battle Mages, and they come in a box of 3 models, with all of the options to build different types of wizards. They are a Empire Old World kit, and I am fully expecting that kit to disappear and go back to the Old World when the Empire get released for the Old World. Same as maybe the mage on a battle griffin might stay, but then I'm not wholly expecting the griffin to stay in the army. The dwarfs, I'm fully expecting them to disappear and be replaced with either a new Age of Sigmar dwarf for Cities of Sigmar, or more human Cities of Sigmar units. So yeah, that's a given. But there's a lot of things. I think the Dark Elves are just going to stay because they're a legacy army and they're not changing anytime soon. So we'll probably keep the Dark Elves in the army book as it is. The Dwarfs and the Empire things are the main thing. I'm 100% expecting the Steam Tank to disappear. I do think there's a new Steam Tank coming for the Empire army. A new plastic steam tank coming for the Empire army for the Old World. So I wouldn't be surprised to see the existing steam tank disappear out of Age of Sigmar, and then when the Empire get released in the Old World, a new plastic steam tank is given to them. I think the Hurricanums and all of the sort of weird College of Magic of sort of stuff, I can fully see staying in the book. Which would make sense because they're not in the Old World. But I think things like the Battle Mages and stuff like that are definitely gone, because they are the wizards. Although Now, here's the thing. Although in the old world, the colleges of magic haven't been set up yet. Teclis hasn't gone to the Empire and done it. So, even though I think they may disappear and go back to the old world, there is a chance that they may stay. Which leaves me into, then we kind of have casters, or other casters that we have. So I'm hoping maybe they'll hint to that in the article. And if they do, I'm going to run out and buy a box of 3 battle mages so I can throw them in my army and get them painted up ready for 4th edition. But yeah, I'm super excited for 4th edition. The more I've looked into it, the more of the battle report I've watched, the more I've listened to people who have actually played it and actually had got their hands on it now. Yeah, it seems like a really fun edition. I'm still a little bit nervous about what they're going to do with the cities. I'm thinking, you know, there's going to be things that are going to get removed. There's going to be things that are going to get radically changed. Pontifex is definitely going to get changed a lot. Now she's a priest. I think she'll do some crazy stuff for, like, really get, like, you know, like, she'll roll on a 3 as normal, but then if she, like, gets, like, a +8 or whatever, she'll do, like, even more stuff and do mortal damage and stuff like that too. I think she'll kind of retain what she's doing currently, but I think she'll sort of do, it'll kind of work into sort of the new way that that priests work now in 4th edition. But yeah, I'm looking forward to getting my hands on some endless spells and throwing them out with some wizards. I'm looking forward to running a lot of cavalry. That is my main aim. Is I'm probably going to go down the cavalry route. I only have 1 unit right now. I'm probably going to pick up another 2 or 3 boxes. And yeah, I'm really excited for 4th edition. And really intrigued to see what the article shows us on Monday for the cities. Yeah, so super stoked. So if you are a Cities player, let me know in the comments below what you think and what your worries are, what your hopes and dreams are. If you think that I've missed anything that we may need in our army. What do you think they're going to do with, like, say, the orders and the fusiliers and the cannons and things? Let me know in the comments. And if you are new to Cities of Sigmar and you want to know more, let me know, and I can do a lot more sort of videos based on them when 4th edition comes out. And yeah, okay, that's the video. Thank you for joining me in my Saturday morning musing as I drink my brew and get ready to go to go out and about and think about all the important things like Warhammer and new future rules and articles for 4th edition Age of Sigmar. So thank you very much, everybody. If you like what I'm doing, please like, subscribe, hit the share button and share with your friends and in your hobby groups. And yeah, and just generally just keep doing what you're doing. And if you want to check out the members area, there is a painted video for my Marshal up on my members area if you want to check that out. And you can follow me on Patreon. I start my new rota next week for work, so hopefully that'll be me nice and settled in and bedded in, and I'll be able to start churning out the painting tutorials again, which I'm super excited to doing. But thank you for all the support lately. It's been absolutely amazing, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye for now.